Welcome back to the Character Corner Podcast. It's your host, Chris and Deepam here, and we're finally back. We're doing a full Character Corner here. I think the last few times we have been doing comic book clubs or we've been doing runs, which I actually enjoy. I think a lot of people have did enjoy our Jonathan Hickman deep dive. But I do believe that diving through as much as we did with Jonathan Hickman, we did three of them. We did Fantastic Four, then we did Shield and was it Secret Warriors, and then we went through his Avengers run. When you do all three of those at the same time and cover all of what Hickman has done, your brain needs a break.
It's a lot, man. Like I and people thought I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of doing some shtick on the show. No. That was a real conversation between two friends who got a little bit too deep.
right. What is being?
No.
Wait, did Hickman create a new religion? Like what? Like
I'm pretty sure he did. Like I'm pretty sure he just went ahead and did those things, and yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, 1,000 years from now, when all context is lost, because that's what always happens with history, right? And somebody finds Hickman's writings and think it's a Bible, and then start forming a religion off of it.
I mean,
it can happen.
All hope lies in doom.
Yeah, it's like we need to pray to this Victor Von Doom person. Just, but so take a break from that, because the next person we're supposed to be going through is Grant Morrison, and there was no way to follow up Jonathan Hickman with Grant Morrison's crazy ass. So we're going back to traditional. We're going back to some traditional character corners right now, and we're starting with it's some characters we've kind of, for the most part, we've kind of covered already. We've covered a lot of this, so a lot of this is going to be rehashing some of the stuff we've talked about before. We're going to be, telling you to kind of go back to listen to some of our other character corners. We're doing the Robins. We're going to be covering all 5. See, I didn't mess up the time. All 5 of the Robins.
Respect.
And we're starting with Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. And
can I just say before we get into this?
Yeah.
The Jason Todd part of this felt like fucking stealing. Because he wasn't on the, like, I know this is technically 2 Robins, but it's like Robin and a half. Because he was Robin for a blink, and then he was on the shelf until Judd Winnick brought him.
Well, I mean, we're going to get into this, but it's like, There
are 2 Jason Todds.
Right. No. So there's that. He's also, he's a weird one, and me and you didn't discuss how we're going to do this, but I think we're just going to kind of go, we're not going to break this up. Like, normally when we do things like this, when we did, the Bad Girls, we kind of broke them up. We was like, okay, we did Barbara, and then who did you after Barbara? We do Barbara, and then we did Cassandra together? I think we did. Or did we do Stephanie Brown together?
I think it was Babs and Cassandra, and then we did Steph and because Steph also touched on the Oracle stuff and
right. So what you do when you do Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, though, you kind of got to just tell the incomplete story. You got to start at the beginning and then keep going through at the end, because, like you said, Jason Todd is an interesting character, and it's like I said, we did Tim Drake already, and we're going to revisit him in our part 2. But we've never really dug deep into the Robins and going into their differences until the larger Batman story, and to me, Jason Todd and Dick Grayson also represent a larger issue what we've seen with Batman and DC Comics and how they get translated to TV and movies. Because, like, with Dick Grayson, everybody knows Dick Grayson. He's the first Robin. You got to cover him. You got to include him. But if we're going to be honest here, by the time most of us who are listening to this or who are reading comics, who got into comics, Dick Grayson was long past being Robin by the time we got introduced to him.
100%.
And then if you take it even a step further, when you go to Jason, same thing with Jason. Jason was introduced in 83. I was 1.
It's a really good point, man.
When I was 2, Grayson was making his first appearance in Nightwing. Jason Todd was killed off. Jason Todd was introduced and killed off by the time I was 6.
What year was that?
88.
88.
Yeah. So
I was 3.
Yeah. So by this point, so you got to think about this. Look out. I mean, we're 2 people that love our comics, are in this, and the first 2 Robins came and went before we were even 10. And so
when I tell you Tim Drake's my Robin, I mean it. Tim Drake's my Robin.
Right. Well, it's the same thing that happened when we were talking about, like, with when we did Wally West first, and it's like, whoa, shit! Anything you know about the Flash really came from Wally West, not from Barry Allen, because he was long gone. I mean, Dick Grayson is a golden age character, you know.
And the thing is, and when we cover this, I think we're gonna cover we again haven't discussed this, but I think the way I'm approaching it is Golden Age is its own separate thing, and then we'll talk about the end. We won't even go by order of comics. We'll talk about the end order of the story.
Yeah,
if you try to jump around the comics as like Nightwing Year One happens, and then the back, like all this stuff jumps around. So it's easier for us to tell you chronologically, particularly with the new continuity, who is Dick Grayson.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, for most of us, we learned who Dick Grayson is through flashback comics being told. You know, from Robin Year One or Nightwing Year One or even Batman Year 3. These are all long after Dick Grayson has come and gone as Robin and is well into his career as Nightwing. But they had to go back and retell the story. But I also think this goes back to the larger issue we've seen with DC when it comes to them translating into movies and TV. Okay, cool. All right. We're going to give you across the board, even with, if you think about it, even with like games we like Arkham games, right? All right, we're gonna give you a Robin. All right, which Robin are we gonna give you? Well, you end up start seeing people taking a Robin, and they kind of combine him as a combination of Dick and Tim. Or so, every now and then you get a little bit of some of the stuff that happened with Jason.
Yeah, with the animated series, it was they combined Tim and Jason.
Right, and so. And you get these mashups, and so then what the true character representation is never really there because and I kind of don't blame DC for this because you kind of almost have to. Like, people are going to ask you, well, you got to show you got to give us Dick Grayson, but it's like, but as a kid you didn't read Dick Grayson. You never saw Dick Grayson as Robin, except for maybe reruns of the 66 Batman or something like that. Like, that wasn't your real Robin, so we still have to mash it up because people understand that. It's like what was it, Justice League Doom, where they did that, where the character clearly Wally West, but I think they made him Barry Allen.
Right.
And you're like, well, it's supposed to be Wally anyway from the story, but you made it Barry because everybody thinks that, well, it's got to be Barry Allen, but like story wise, it's not. And it's a weird thing, and even with Dick, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's especially dealing with the Wally issue. It's interesting to see how sidekicks are treated in the DC universe because the original purpose of the Titans was to replace their mentors with anything that happened to them. The only two, or I guess 3 for 1 issue, because Aqualad did take the crown for an issue, then he was killed in Blackest Night. The only two who truly took that mantle in continuity are Dick and Wally.
Well, I was going to say, Dick Grayson is the second greatest sidekick character ever created, next to Wally, because I put
him above Wally for different reasons.
The only reason and again they're so close. The only reason why I put him above Wally is because Wally actually did take the mantle and was took the mantle for a long time. Like, for a longer time.
For me, Dick made his own.
Well, and also, and that's where it's. So, you know what? Maybe it's not that he's second. It's like they're 1A and 1B because
they took different paths.
Right, because like when you read,
like you don't say Roy Harper as Arsenal. You say he's Speedy. You don't say Donna Troy's Troy. You say she's Wonder Girl. But you say Dick Grayson. By and large, people are going to say Nightwing.
Right. Like so with what happened with Dick, he. Like you said, like with Wally, when we covered this in our Wally, go back and listen to our Wally West episode. When we talk about Wally, we talk about how Wally struggled so much trying to find out who he was and like Wally had the coming of Wally into being the Flash was way different than Dick becoming Nightwing too. Wally idolized his mentor, like his Uncle Barry died saving the universe, and Wally held himself back because he was afraid of kind of erase people that he was afraid people would forget his Uncle Barry and what his Uncle Barry did. And we'll get into the fallout between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne, but like Dick struck out on his own to make his own name. It not to like prove it to anybody, but like I can do this on my own. I am my own man, and like you're right. What he does, he goes out and makes his own name way beyond. He makes Nightwing like you said, his own character, whereas Wally literally steps into the shoes as the Flash, and it's a really fascinating thing that these are the only two that really did it. So
while I was doing all the reading for this, and one of my favorite Nightwing books is that first run that started by Devin Grayson, and when he gets to issue 75, which, as we're all realizing, is a very big issue for a spin-off character to make it to. He has a quote about who they ask him who he thinks he is. Someone says it says, "Who do I think I am?" Good question, really, and I'll answer it like this: I've seen too much to be Robin, but I'm still too optimistic to be Batman. I'm Nightwing. I'm Officer Dick Grayson. I'm Barbara's boyfriend, Bruce Wayne's adopted son, and the last member of the amazing Flying Grace. I'm happy.
Yeah.
And it's changed since then, and we're going to talk about the character movements, things that have happened. But that's a quote that really kind of holds true as you keep going through these different iterations of Nightwing. It's, look, man, I know too much to be Robin. I can't be someone's sidekick, but I'm not Bruce.
Yeah.
Like I stood close to the darkness. I realized that's not me. I had to find something of my own, and he did.
Yeah. And then when we get to Jason just got the roll end of a deal because like he didn't get Jason never stood a chance.
We'll talk about the inception of Jason when his first appearance wasn't until 1987.
Yeah.
Like I was 2 years old. Like this, we're gonna talk about Jason when we get to it and all the things that happened there. But let's start with Dick Grayson.
Well, before we even get to starting the Dick Grayson, I do want to take a moment. I did say I was going to start with this. I went and because DC Unlimited, it is not DC Unlimited. DC Universe, the DC Universe app launched on this week. I think it was either Thursday or Friday or sometime this week. It launched, and they have a 7-day trial. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and try it out. We're obviously doing some DC reading, so let me see if I can get it. And I'm looking at it from a comic point of view, and what it goes from there. And it's exactly what we thought. It's not a bad app if you were there because I believe, like I said, the Death of Superman, the latest animated from DC Animated is up there. So for I think it's $7.99 a month or something like that. So for that price, it's not a bad deal for that stuff. However, if you are there for and like I said, I'm looking at it now because they're launching stuff for Batman. They say they have all the Nolan trilogy is up there, so you can watch that now. I mean, if you're here for video or TV shows or things like that, this app is good. It's fine. It's a nice slick app. It works on. I have an Android tablet. I'm pretty sure it works on an iPad. You can get to it. It's same layout, same features on the web browser. In that respect, is great. But everybody knows I'm here for the comics. Like that stuff is great. I'm not here for that. I'm here for the comics.
And we are who we are, and we're gonna rightfully bitch about what we want. But let's be real. As far as a marketing strategy, not the worst idea. No, their biggest hits have been the cartoons, have been the television shows, have been the movies. More people watch the movies than will buy your comic book. So if they're gonna front load it that way, I understand it. I need some assurances. The rest is coming.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm not mad at them for going this way, and I'm also not mad at them because it's not like they overpromised. I like to put it plainly. This is the app I expected. From what I was hearing from them, it's obviously front loaded with this. It's set up for their streaming stuff. We'll see. I don't think the first thing that's streaming is Titans. That comes on October 15th. We'll see if I still have it by then. But like from what I can tell, that's fine. All the stuff is there. That's great on that end. But again, I want to know about the comics, and it's very, very clear that comics were a second option for them. It's very slick. It looks nice, but the first problem is you have to navigate the app in landscape. So if I have a tablet, I have to turn my tablet to the side, navigate it that way. It does not rotate.
That sounds like an early adapter problem. I'm sure they'll get to that.
Yeah.
It has to be on the list.
Well, again, remember this is I'm just saying what it is. This is there is built for TV. Is built for streaming. Is built for watching, not reading. And it also goes into when you're looking at the comics. Again, they do that thing where, and I love what Marvel Unlimited does this. Hey, listen, it's Batman Day, so they have all their. Hey, we know you're going to be talking about looking for Batman stuff. Here's your Batman stuff. The comics are also Batman heavy. It's DC, so I'm not shocked by that. And they'll have like reading lists for you to look at. They have an encyclopedia, so if you want to get some bios on some characters and things like that, that's nice. But there's no easy way to search for comics. It's all the pictures. that are there, and if you want more, there's not even that thing on the side like in Marvel Unlimited where you can be like, go to the M's. Can't even do that. Like, there's no easy way. You basically have to just scroll through everything, all the pictures that are there, and hope that the comic you're looking for is there. Again, maybe that'll change. They do say in October that their entire library will be there for purchase. I don't know if that means that some of the comics will be there to. I don't know how they're going to distinguish what's for purchase and what's for just looking for free on the app. I don't know what to see in October.
Chris, did you just tell me there's going to be a paywall behind their paywall?
So here's the thing. I don't know because like if you think about it, Marvel Unlimited is the same thing. So in Marvel Unlimited, you can buy the comic from the app, and it'll put it into your comic. But I don't know. I don't know what that means. And the problem I have with right now with DC Universe is they're very tight-lipped on what their comic offering is going to be and what the model going forward is. So I don't know if that means that you'll be able to doesn't mean that I'll be able to look at my Comixology library through DC Universe. I don't know. I also know that even though it looks like they have a lot of comics there because they do. They have a lot of series there. I do know that all the books in those series aren't there. So, for instance, Scott Snyder's Batman run. That's for what, 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2011. 3 issues. 1, 2, 3 are there. Nothing else.
Nah.
For the rebirth titles, you get the first issue and that's it. You can't just read them in Marvel Unlimited. You see the book there, you just read it straight there. You have to download them. Then you could read it from the app. And then when you get to the end of the issue, it doesn't take you to the next issue. You have to get out, go back, download the next issue that's coming in there. It's very, very clunky. It's, again, I do believe that they will change all this stuff going forward. I would hope they change all this stuff, but it is not DC Unlimited. It is not. It's useful if you don't want to go and find other means of downloading some of these comics.
Okay.
But it's still a pain. Like, it's still very fresh, and it's very, very obvious to me.
Sounds like a pain.
Yeah, it is a pain, and it's very obvious to me that this just was not their plan. Their plan was not to do this, to do comics first, and that's fine. But it is what it is. So, anyway, I just want to get my quick little thoughts on DC Unlimited. Again, if you're here I know some people are here for Young Justice Season 3. Maybe you do want to see Titans, all that stuff. Maybe you just want an access to all the DC movies that have been out, even prior stuff like the Christopher Reeves movies are there. That's fine. Maybe all the DC animated stuff is there. But right now, for comics wise, it's not very useful, not very helpful. So that's all I got.
Okay, so I think it's best probably for this, just for ease of translation, that we even kind of scuttle some of the Golden Age stuff with Dick. And we'll just talk about his Silver Age established origins and move on from there. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, and again, we covered this in the Batman episode, first appearances and stuff like that. I mean, we covered that before.
Finger and Bob Kane, he was part and parcel with the Batman kind of original mythos. And
1940s.
He was 1940s. So, and also the reason for the eventual trials that almost led to the outlawing of comic books, the perversion of the innocent trials, where it was used specifically as an example of the relationship between Batman and Robin.
He does have a young boy running around in pixie shorts.
Look, all right, come on.
It was modeled off of Robin Hood, but still, it's. I can in the 1940s, I can see how those uptight assholes would feel some kind of way.
Well, we'll not even get into who those people actually were because, that's a different podcast for a different time. I should do a show on that trial.
We should do that. Maybe we should.
We just gave ourselves more work, by the way. For the record, that's what happened.
We did, but maybe we should cover that.
It's an important part of comic book history. So let's talk about Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson, powers and abilities, he's got none.
Well, he's good.
Running feet for the Bat family. These are not enhanced humans. These are people who, either through happenstance or training, reach the pinnacle of human capability, and they can do things that you and I would consider crazy, but they have the technology, gadgetry, and training to do it. I'm going to keep saying training because our second Robin doesn't benefit from as much.
Yeah, training is key here. The key is
training
here.
is very
and also I think there is something that goes into with Dick Grayson. Let's be honest here. Probably out of everyone, I'd even say over Damian, probably the most athletic because he was a gymnast.
well. That's the thing about all the Robins. So, like as you look from a 30,000-foot view, you look at the Robins and their history, and a lot of the Robins tend to emphasize certain aspects of that.
Yes.
So I've always said Batman, Dick was the acrobatics, Jason was the fighter, and Tim was the brain. And the acrobatics come naturally to Jason, or to Dick, excuse me, because he wasn't just your average 12-year-old boy when he was entered into Bruce Wayne's orbit. He was the last surviving member, as we already mentioned, of the Flying Graysons, a world-famous circus troupe who traveled with Haley's Circus. They came through a stop through Gotham, and as the owner of Haley's Circus was being shook down by boss Tony Zuko, a crime lord at the time, that night, Dick's parents' high wire rope snapped, leaving him an orphan. Fortunately for him, a billionaire was in the audience by the name of Bruce Wayne, who, after being taken from a juvenile system and then to a Catholic orphanage, Bruce Wayne ended up adopting Dick as his ward because he didn't want he said as a ward at the time because he didn't want to replace his father as a billionaire. Now, later retcons and things that have been established make it very clear. Dick Grayson is the son of Bruce Wayne.
I mean, let's be honest here. At this point, what Dick is like 8 years old?
He's 12.
12. I mean, at 12 years old, Bruce basically raised him for most of his life. And so once Dick gets to Living Rand Manor, and you imagine, and there are lots of issues and lots of scenes that are done, like you mentioned, in flashback that kind of flesh this out, but it was an uneasy transition from a circus boy living on the road to living in this manor. So, he didn't call Alfred, Alfred, he called Alfred Al, which always made the butler laugh. But one night he snuck out of the manor. He was going to find the man who killed his parents. And in tracking him down, he runs into who else but Batman. And after Dick was saved trying to track down this killer, he wakes up in the Batcave with Batman, who reveals himself to be Bruce Wayne. He invites Dick to work alongside him to solve the crime, to prove Zuko did it. And Batman takes Dick under his wing because he sees the loss. He sees himself in the kid. And he says, I want to make sure someone's there to guide you, and I wasn't. And so he made him an offer. He said, you can be my crime-fighting partner. And from that moment on, Dick Grayson was introduced as Robin, the Boy Wonder. And there's a line from, I can't wait for you to watch Young Justice now that you have the app. There's a line from Young Justice where they're talking about the teens and putting them up, and they're having a Justice League kind of vote on who should be even brought up for a vote for membership, who wants to nominate. And one woman suggests nominating Robin, saying that he's more than ready. And he says, no, he's not ready. And then she ridicules him for saying that he can fight in that Robin can fight in his war, but he's not enough to join him. Are you afraid that he'll become like you? And Bruce says this thing during this, and that's one of the reasons I like the animated stuff that comes from DC, because I do feel like it is true to the core of the characters. He says, I didn't make him Robin so that he would be me. I made him Robin so he would. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, it's just something that it's an insight into the whys behind you're sending a child out to fight crime.
Well, and
it's on its face crazy.
Well, and that's some of the interesting stuff. So, like we said before, you get there's at least 3 good tellings of actually we can go a little more than that of these of Dick Grayson becoming Robin under him. You got Batman Year 3 tells it. Robin Year 1 is not really telling the story. It's like his first year. He's already become Robin, but he hasn't been introduced to. He's just getting started. And you get these letters from Alfred, basically saying how his worry about what Bruce is doing. It's like, it's one thing for you to, as a grown man, to go out on this crusade, but to bring this young boy in, I'm uncertain about it. I don't know what's going on, and you see. Everybody feels that way. Same thing with Gordon. Gordon feels some kind of way about. Well, it's one thing you get this man going around doing. Now you have this young kid. I think that's one thing that we can't underestimate. Like this is 8-year-olds. These are 8 to 12-year-olds are doing this. So you have this grown man running around fighting crime, and you have an 8-year-old in pixie boots and this yellow cape, and like it's very noticeable. Dark Victory, I believe, the sequel to Long Halloween also. Also retells, and I think that also kind of links it to Two-Face, remember correctly.
Well, it links it to the rise of the supervillain, and kind of it gives more. What I've always liked about the retelling is that they always flesh it out. They never kind of retract. They always make more sense. So the fact that the villains are going from mobsters to these psychopathic, colorful creations meant that Bruce needed backup, and it just happened to work out there. My favorite retelling of the origin is actually from the animated series, Robin's Reckoning. It's a 2-part episode from 1993. It actually won the Emmy for most outstanding half-hour or less program, and it's the same origin. It's all the same way it's always been told, but the storytelling and the way it's done in the animated series. I don't know the last time you watched this, but they wrote it 2 ways. They storyboarded it 2 ways, and they said one of the ways was kind of more graphic. You saw the parents fall into the cutaway. They said that was too much for a child television show.
Maybe a little
bit. They actually ended up giving us the most affecting way to do it, because if you remember, it's played in shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Dick's watching his parents, and the shadows watch it snap, and you watch the shadows fall, and you get to see Dick's reaction, which for me is way more horrifying than actually showing it.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's one of those episodes where you watch the animated series, you're like, I can't believe they got away with this.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh wow, you thought that wasn't going to be terrifying? Oh, okay.
But that's what standards and practices asked for. They said that showing it was too brutal, and that this was the compromise, and the fact that they pulled off something that in my mind is more affecting than the compromise really says a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so it like with Robin Year One, you see, even Bruce kind of considering at one point, he's like, he tells Robin gets hurt. He's like, yeah, no, you can't do this. We're done. We're not gonna have you do this. And I think the other thing too is Bruce sees that in Bruce's mind, he's like, if I wasn't there, Dick would have done this anyway. He would have he would have gotten into trouble. So and several times he tells us, and like you said, in every telling, especially with Dick Grayson, like when we get to Jason, there's 2 different tellings that are completely drastically different. But with Dick Grayson, it's always the same way, and there's always the people that is always Alfred going, Master Bruce, I think this is wrong. I don't know if you should be teaching this young kid to do all this stuff. It's not his crusade. And he's always telling Alfred's like, listen, I'm not making him do anything that he wouldn't go out there doing. I'm just trying to help it so that he doesn't go down that path. So like you said, with the young Justice quote, when he's like, yo, I'm doing this so that he won't be me. And in a way, he's right, because what Dick ended up becoming is something more, something different. Even when we're getting ahead of ourselves, but when he takes over the Cowl under Grant Morrison, even people see it's like, this Batman is different. Like,
his first time in the Cowl, Gordon's like, well, you're not him.
Yeah. The guy's like, he's like, but the other guys like you better. It's like, just like, I know.
And that's kind of one of the defining characteristics of Nightwing or Dick Grayson, because in this community of superheroes, he was the first sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's played upon largely, and whenever you see him in larger like JLA settings or settings involving like large crowd shots, you always have a character comment on the only person who's friends with everyone, older and younger, is Nightwing.
Yeah.
And the only person who can bring people together, people who will listen to him, is Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
Because while Bruce rules through fear and people respect him, everyone fucking likes Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone likes Nightwing because he was the good cop at all times, because when your dad's Batman, you gotta be good cop.
Right. There's good cop and bad cop. And you definitely gotta be, yes. You're absolutely right.
You're not gonna out Batman. We'll get to Damian later.
Right. But well, Damien and Jason would like to have a word, but yes.
Jason got worse once he got wet.
Right.
But no, like, so I think I reread Nightwing, or excuse me, Robin Year One, and one of the interesting things is that the retelling that had the Two-Face, the double hanging death trap and everything?
Yes, I really like
that. the double gallows death trap, and I really liked it because you see Robin kind of on his first solo mission. He's got to save Batman and this acting DA from Two-Face. And so while Dick does the right thing and tries to save the DA, he doesn't take into account Two-Face's obsession with the number two.
Mm-hmm.
And ends up killing the DA, and the kid blames him. He gets his ass kicked by Two-Face, and he blames himself. But it's really interesting to see, for us who grew up as like Nightwing Dick Grayson, it's interesting to see him screw up.
Yeah.
Interesting to see him watch him learn on the job, because he is an acrobat. He likes the center stage. He likes to be in the center ring. He likes to be the show. And that's one of the reasons why he was so effective as a sidekick, because while he's quipping and bouncing around and making fun of the villains, Batman's disarming the bomb.
Yeah. Well,
and that was always, and like the joking name from the animated series was, Joker called him Robin the Boy Hostage.
Mm-hmm.
But there was always a point to it. Like, I like how almost they took a cue from this when they retconned Bucky's role in World War II as not just the mascot, but also like a saboteur and a spy. Like, people aren't going to suspect these younger, smaller people, so they can take advantage of that.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because of his acrobatics, and he's even more of an acrobat than Batman is. There are several times, and especially in that Robin Year One, where even he would catch Batman off guard with something he would do. It was like, I didn't teach him that. No, well, that's a pretty good move. I didn't see that coming. You know, where you can see Batman actually being impressed. The other thing too that Robin Year One also does is, while Alfred, you know, is worried about what's happening to Dick Grayson, he also notes the change in Bruce. Mm-hmm. He notices that Bruce has a smile on his face sometimes. He notices that Bruce has lightened up a little bit. And that's another recurring theme we're going to see with all the Robins, in a way that, you know, Bruce, and we'll get into it, really comes out when Bruce is, you know, finally tells, you know, Nightwing the real reason why he picked Jason. Bruce's whole thing is also to, like, it makes him feel better. It makes him so he doesn't feel so lonely. Like, you have this thing, and I think that goes back to one of the things we see when it comes to live action Batman movies, that I think Batman has gotten this, they get the concept of Batman wrong by thinking that he's a loner. When in reality, he's really not. He's at his worst actually when he's a loner, but we have an entire Bat family that has become really, really fleshed out to the point that the Bat books are good. We always say about the Batman books are good, but the Bat books in general are usually fairly well written and well done, because these are the characters that have the most, like, they just have the most care taken to them. So you can take a Robin, and each Robin has an interesting story to tell with each of them, with their own little villains and things like that. We already went through all the Batgirls and all the stuff that goes on with them. Like, each of them has their own little world, which is why everything becomes so Batman heavy, because it's like they're the ones that have been the most fleshed out since the 1940s, you know. And it's interesting one. One of the things going into also these first early years with Dick Grayson is I reread the Batman Chronicles, the Gauntlet, which is the first the final test Batman gave Robin that he has to pass in order for him to be able to go out and officially join him as Robin again, because they tell these different stories all the time. But the Gauntlet is a good one, because that also comes up when in Nightwing Year One, when he meets Jason. He thinks Jason's doing the Gauntlet, and it's basically Alfred drops Robin off in his costume, and he has a 6-hour head start, and he has to escape. He has to survive until daybreak, because Batman's going to come and try to find him. And
that's evolved to like one of my favorite traditions in the Bat book. So they've done the Gauntlet type thing with different. They did it with Tim.
Mm-hmm.
We had to stay ahead of Dick and Batman. Like, it's turned into the thing where they found ways to make the idea of a child fighting crime less fucking crazy.
Right. Like, they have to
like
prove
the fact
themselves.
That if you can stay ahead of fucking Batman for a fucking night, you deserve to be doing this.
Wait, and then what Dick does is Dick goes a step further. Instead of just staying ahead of Batman, he starts leaving him clues. He like starts taunting Batman, which I'm like,
Dick is like, and it's so funny, and I'm so glad you touched on this, because it's such an underrated aspect of his character. Is kid's a showman.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
he
is.
Put on a show.
Yeah.
Like, it gets mentioned. We're going to talk about Hush later because we have to, but. In the Hush, like, you get Bruce's narration while Nightwing is fighting. He's like, he was born for the center ring.
Mm-hmm.
He could never wear this cowl, and I would never wish it on him because he wasn't born to live in the shadows. He was born for the center ring. When the Justice League vanishes in Joe Kelly's run, I cannot think of the name of the story at the top of my head. Atlantis. It's when they go back to the past and lost Atlantis. T-spheres are stolen by Bruce Wayne because Batman steals good tech and makes Mr. On the side note, makes Mr. Terrific very proud. He's like, Batman stole my tech. I couldn't be happier. And the T-spheres go and recruit a new Justice League, a replacement. And they recruit Metamorpho and Firestorm and Jason Blood and Green Arrow. And he puts Nightwing as a leader. And he does it because, one, he says, I don't trust anyone in the world more than him. But two, he's the best parts of me.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, Ollie's being Ollie. And everyone's kind of talking on the table. And Nightwing slams his fist on the table and says enough. He says, we can have our squabbles, we can have our personal beefs, we can have our disagreements. Never at this table. And you see, and they cut to Ollie and goes, I knew he could do the voice. And it's one of those things that, like, it's so easy to forget that at the end of the day, he's Batman's kid.
Yeah. I mean, they'll eventually have their issues and things like that, but he is Batman's kid and the first child and the one that he honestly couldn't be prouder of what he becomes, and so yeah.
People say like Batman's unfeeling or uncaring. I'm like, give me a panel with him and Dick, and they're just talking, and I'll show you how much you care.
Well, I mean, and we'll get into this later when I'll save it for the Jason stuff, but it's like, no, he doesn't show it, and he's not a talker, but he it is there. He definitely feels. But yeah, so back in the Gauntlet stuff. So, but in the middle of doing this, Dick also then stumbles upon like a crime happening. So he then solves a crime, and he not only has Batman chasing after him, he then also has all these bad guys chasing after him as well. And then at the end, Batman, they get to the end, and Batman told him, was like, I mean, you did a good job, but your first mistake was you should have gone to the police first. You should have taken the evidence to Gordon first, but you did okay. He's like, and then Robin's like, oh yeah, man, but you did get me before the stun come on, and he's just like, nah, it's fine, man. We're good enough. I mean, you solved a crime in the middle of this.
He said, "No, the thing about it is," and you see he's trying to do it with Tim later. The way you do the Gauntlet's the real Gauntlet.
Yeah.
It's fucking Gotham. You're not going to be able to run a Nazi crime. Right.
And so it's an interesting thing. And then you see after this, like later on when I'm getting ahead, but like there's an issue where he's Batman sends Tim to talk to I think it's a Teen Titans issue. He sends Tim to talk to Dick and was like, yeah, he wants you to teach me how to be a partner, and Dick goes with it and shows him all this and shows him how to look at things and how to look. He's like, one of the things was, it's like, hey, we're gonna sit here in this park and we're just gonna sit here for 7 hours. He doesn't say anything. Then after he's like, yo, so tell me, describe all the people that were here. And Tim's like, the fuck you mean? Like, you didn't tell me to do that. It was like, what were you thinking we were doing? You just sitting. He was like, that's part of being a partner. You need to be able to anticipate what I want done without me saying anything to you. It's a really interesting breakdown of seeing how good of a teacher Batman was for Dick, but then also how Dick then, even when he has his issues with bats, he's still doing it himself, and he's able to give those lessons to other people. And he does it. He kind of does it with Tim, with Jason a little bit too. But like it's like I said, it's just a really interesting. It's really interesting to see how that gets broken down. So.
Yeah, and so Tim is Robin for, I believe it's been retconned or established as 6 years.
I think so. That's about right. Because if he was
because he was 19 because he was supposed to, he'd already graduated.
Mm-hmm.
So he was 19, and so while this is all happening, while he's gaining his feet as a superhero, as a partner, he's also learning how to be part of a team. Because while we covered this in our Teen Titans episodes, but Dick starts the Teen Titans. He founds the Teen Titans.
Yeah, Brave and the Bold, number 54. That was in 1964. So it was, again, 64. Again, that shows you how much of this character is then, right? He's created in the 40s. The Teen Titans come 20 years later. Now we're entering into the Silver Age, and it's 1964. I mean, like that's just it's fucking insane. So it's like this is a character that we've gotten all this stuff from, and none of us are even fucking born. Our parents might not even be born. Like it's just like it's fucking crazy.
All the Titans formations and early year stuff,
right?
But I want to touch on like the new Teen Titans, because the new Teen Titans is where we really get to see Dick Grayson operating. Like even the Teen Titans run, the early stuff, it's kind of campy, and a lot of it is tied to their relationships with their mentors.
Yes.
What I liked about New Teen Titans and Marv Wolfman in that run was that it really kind of made them stand as individuals, because the call to action wasn't like the original Teen Titans was our mentors have been brainwashed. The psychics have to help us. Very 1960s plotline. This time it was a mysterious girl named Raven who's summoning the Teen Titans. These young Titans. And because Dick was able to be a leader outside of Gotham, it gave him the ability to kind of stand on his own too. He even falls in love with Starfire, and he says, he got shot in the shoulder by the Joker, and he quit. Moved out of Wayne Manor. He joined.
It's not. Let's be honest. It's not that he quit. No. Batman basically told him to, because I think that's important. Batman told him that he's done. That Robin is done. Mm-hmm. So I think it is kind of important, because I think that while it could have gone that way, I think Bruce kind of forcing, and this is I think they kind of claim a little bit more with that Nightwing Year One, where it's basically. Bruce is kind of almost jealous of the time that he's spending with the Teen Titans, because he's losing his partner. I mean, it's true though. He's losing his partner. Yeah. His partner is, it's that weird thing where, and again, I think this is an interesting thing with Dick Grayson being a young sidekick. You're seeing a sidekick grow up. Again, with Wally, his mentor dies. So right. you never get that friction between them at the time. You're kind of getting it now, which oddly enough, you're getting the friction now in the comics.
Last War was so good.
Right. You're getting it now, but like Dick and them get it because it's a typical father son things where it's like the son has grown up and the father is kind of overprotective and wants the kid always to be a kid and always next to him, kind of, because even if he didn't want him to be him, he's still kind of thinking in his mind. Bruce was never prepared mentally for Dick Grayson to go off and not be Robin anymore. And so correct. When, he gets shot and he's worried, he's like, oh, well, no, you can't be Robin anymore. But they kind of thinking that you're going to still be by my side. You'll still be here, but you're not going to be Robin. You're not going to be you're going to go out there and live your life. And Dick is like, no, you can't force me to not do that anymore. You can't force me to not do you. This has been part of my life. This is who I am now. And you're right, Dick leaves, and I think that's it's around the Judas contract time, because
he also quit the Titans.
Right. Well, he doesn't technically quit the Titans; he quits the name.
He says, "I gotta find, whatever." He says, "I gotta find." It's the same time Wally leaves.
Yeah, Wally leaves. Wally leaves, but he's like, I'm not gonna be Robin anymore. I'm not quitting the team, but I'm like, I gotta find my. It's like that. I'm taking some time off, type deal, right? I'm still here if you need to call me. But yeah, you're right, because I think that's 42. The new Teen Titans 42, and then 44 is the end of Judas' contract, and I think that's when he debuts as Nightwing. Back, yeah, he debuts as Nightwing costume. So
I like the Nightwing Year Run that fills in that gap there so much more.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
The full fleshing out of where the name comes from.
Yeah. He goes back to back to the circus, Haley. Mm-hmm. When I think this is also it's not when he enters Bloodhaven, because he's not there. Bloodhaven is Bloodhaven comes like later.
Oh, it's when he gets the last suit, the blue and red.
Yeah, but yeah, he goes back to his roots. He goes back to join the circus. He doesn't want to use Bruce's money. He's going, he's starting from scratch again. And he's going through all this stuff, and then somehow he also finds out that there's a new kid in the Robin suit.
Well, even that's happening. All that's happened. But right. My favorite issue of the whole miniseries was him going to Metropolis.
Oh yeah, he goes talk to
Clark.
To Clark,
because you got to remember, as the first sidekick, he has probably the two biggest influences in life are Bruce and Clark.
Yeah.
Like, and Clark tells him about, and so originally the name was described as a combination of his two biggest influences, Night and Wing, because of flying. But I liked this version better because Clark tells him about a Kryptonian legend, superhero, who fought crime fighter on Krypton. And a man had been cast out by his family, but he dreamed of a world of justice. And he protected the helpless of not Krypton. His true identity was never revealed, and he went by Nightwing.
Yep. And
that's what inspired Dick, because he felt cast out by his family, but still dedicated to this mission of justice. And the mini ends with him taking the suit, modified by Alfred, because Alfred's a G, that his father designed for flying Graysons. And that's where you get the disco collar from.
Yep.
Which is not my favorite Nightwing suit, but I think it's important.
It's a very, very important Nightwing suit. So,
that's also when he finds out about the kid.
So we're gonna to do Jason. So Jason Todd is interesting because there's two distinct origins for him, which probably also leads to fans. I think that also kind of led to fans not liking him. So in addition just to the character itself, I think having these, because again with everything in here, Jason Todd just came around. I think it was also around the bad timing. Jason Todd comes in almost around the time of Crisis, the first Crisis.
Well, you've got to remember, this is pre-unified DC editorial.
Exactly.
So when they age out Robin and make him Nightwing, DC marketing's like, fuck you, Batman and Robin sells. Get us a Robin.
So that goes back to the other thing, too, here. You got to remember when it comes to why they added Robin in the first place, why we had a Teen Titans. Again, comics are always trying to bring in younger audiences and kids. And so Batman and Robin sell because Robin is also appealing to young kids. If you have an 8-year-old who's like, I want to be Batman, but maybe I'm too young to be Batman, I can be Robin. You know, they see somebody look like. It goes back to the thing about diversity too, in that you know what, seeing somebody that looks like you helps sell. I know it's weird.
Character, yeah.
I know it's weird for some people to understand that, but like seeing yourself in a medium makes you more likely to consume that medium. So. Right, you've aged out Nightwing, which I get. Right, you cannot keep, because I'm not gonna lie, some of those later issues of with Wally in the Kid Flash suit, they look kind of ridiculous. Because I'm like,
big as shit.
Huh?
Wally's big as shit.
Right, I'm like. It's like that episode of SNL where they had The Rock as being Clark Kent. And you can see a Superman suit like popping out from under his work clothes.
It doesn't work. It's Rock. It just doesn't work.
Right. It just doesn't work. Like when you see Wally and you have like Barry talking to him, sometimes it's like, Wally, like you're almost a grown ass man. Like this is kind of weird. So you know you have Dick he had to go, right?
So he did have to go, but there was precedent in the Golden Age.
You say what now?
So the Golden Age, Dick Grayson kept wearing the Robin suit. Right. He updated the suit. So the idea that Robin could be his own hero existed. Like that was an idea.
Yes.
The fact that they took him to Nightwing was a paradigm shift for DC Comics.
Absolutely.
However, you needed to have a Robin. So initially, they had Bruce go to another circus.
Right. Well, it's so funny because I call Jason like Rebound Robin because it kind of was. I mean, he was literally Dick Grayson because he had red hair, right? Originally, so it was Dick Grayson with red hair, and made him die. Right. His parents were also in the circus. Were also trapeze artists. I can't remember what their names were. And they also got killed by gangsters. In this story, at least the pre-crisis story version of it is Dick did know of the Todds. He actually is the one who introduced the Todds to Bruce because Bruce was having them keep tabs on this gangster for them that they said was shaking down. Again, same thing, shaking down the circuits. Like, was that a thing back then? Shaking down the circuits for money? I guess.
Look, I kind of want to start shaking down the circus. Apparently, it's one of those crimes that has kind of faded by the wayside. That's called opportunity, kids.
Right. Were circuses bringing in that kind of money? Because I'm just like, you keep shaking down the circus, but they also at the same time the circus was always broke. So it's like I didn't understand like shaking down a broke circus. It didn't make any sense.
It's a cash business,
right?
Everything's so they can't report the losses,
right? And I believe in the original version, it's not Two-Face or them. Isn't it Killer Croc? It's Killer Croc, yeah. And the parents get killed by Killer Croc, and again, Dick has left. Batman. It's not. They didn't make it so that it was tension there in this version, and it's kind of tension there, but not like this.
It's weird.
I think the tension was more comes from when, like, at one point, like, Dick is approaching Bruce, like, hey, listen, I think you're pushing the tides too much. They could get hurt, and Bruce is like, they sign up for this. Like, he's a real dick about it. So maybe that causes the thing there. But Todd's parents get killed. Bruce brings Jason in and starts training him as Robin. It's literally the Dick Grayson story 2.0. I
want to say this because pre-crisis Jason Todd sucks and does not deserve to be talked about very long.
Yeah.
There's one story that he's integral to that everyone knows. For the man who has everything, that Superman Annual number 11. The Robin in that story who saves Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman is Jason Todd. It's an Alan Moore story. It's a seminal story. It's been retold in numerous times over numerous different media. But the Robin in the original story is Jason Todd. Mm. And that's crazy. Because post-crisis Jason Todd is a very different character.
Very, very different. Like so when is the crisis shift in Batman? Do you know the issue? 'Cause I know so New Origin for Jason Todd comes in at 408 in Batman 408. Is it 400? Mm-hmm. Where I could never really find out where the exact shift.
I honestly don't know the issue number top of my head. I do know his first time in the suit is 410.
Yeah, it's 410 is the first time in the suit. 408 is when you find out and you get the infamous story. And this goes back to, again, the movie is terrible, but this goes back to what they did with was it Batman Forever, where that character is supposed to be Dick Grayson, but he also steals the wheels off of the Batmobile. So
he's also 42.
And he's also right. He's also way too old to be a boy wonder. But yeah, Jason Todd is a street orphan who steals the wheels off the Batmobile. Batman catches him, has him put the wheels back on. Send him to, was it Madame Gunn, who is running an orphanage, but is also quietly teaching these kids how to be thieves.
It's a school of crime. It's like an undercover school of crime.
Yes.
And Batman is helped out by Jason in the street, taking down a gang of thieves, and didn't get 6 months of training to become Robin. Okay. So
6 months of training is not enough time.
Just to recap, Dick Grayson, acrobat from ages 1 to 12. 1 year of training, Robin. Bruce Wayne, parents die at 8, becomes a psychopath and singularly focused until the age of, depending on your continuity, roughly 22 to 25. Batman. Jason Todd, angry child of 2 drug-addicted parents who died violent deaths, 6 months. My point is, and I'm a Jason Todd apologist, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm wearing Red Hood pajama pants right now. I will say this: he was never set up to win.
Yeah, he was always going to fail.
He was never set up to win, and it's seen from the very beginning of the post-crisis because what they wanted to do was kind of inject some realism into these stories. And so the way they did it with Robin was Batman noticing off the rip that while he's not as athletic or smart as Dick Grayson, he has more range than Dick ever could, and that could be channeled into working harder. Mm-hmm. He also was firm in his belief and told Alfred this. If he doesn't help Jason Todd, he could become a criminal. Which
I kind of agree with.
Well, it's fucking true, clearly. We will get to that, but it's fucking spoilers. He was right. But the thing about it is, the reasons he brought in Dick, I didn't want him to become me. The reason he brought in Jason, I didn't want him to become a criminal. Even the framing of it set up Jason to fail.
Yeah, it's Jason
So
never got.
Jason's the rebel Robin, man. He swears, he smokes, he doesn't listen to Batman, dude. He took down Scarecrow by himself against Batman's orders. He's a badass, but it goes wrong sometimes.
It's
raids.
The problem with Dick. So if we go back to 416, 416 is the first time I think that post crisis that Dick and Jason meet. And they take down some drug dealers, and Dick kind of is showing him that, you know, he sees immediately the issues. He sees it like this kid is brash. He doesn't listen. He jumps. He leaps first, looks second. Right? Like Dick sees it right away, and he kind of, you know,
what happened to Dick in Nightwing Year One.
You know, it did.
Robin Year One.
Yeah, it did. And he's like, you know, it's not even that's not like that. That's not that it disqualifies him. It's just that, you know, I'm hoping.
She got her hands on this back.
Yeah, I'm clearly gonna give him some pointers and things like that. And Dick, by the end of the issue, kind of you know, give him, you know, they take down the criminals together, and in the distance Batman's looking on, and he's smiling, he's happy that these two are going on. But also in the issue you have you have Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne confronting each other, and Dick wants to know, it's like, why did you pick someone? What's going on? Why did you eventually? I can understand you letting me go. Why did you go out and get another Robin so soon? Like, what is going on here? Bruce admits, I was lonely. So between one, I didn't want him to be a criminal. Two, I was lonely and missing my first Robin. Jason just didn't have it. You know what it is to me? It's like that. It's that thing parents do with, like, sometimes with their second child, where they're like, we're not gonna be as strict as we were before. We're gonna let them go. You know, I'm gonna be more of their friend. I'm not gonna, like, it's just, and they let things go they wouldn't let go with their other children. And that's what happens with Jason. And because, and the other thing too is because Bruce doesn't really talk about his issues, which he never does. But he has some real issues with letting Dick go. He doesn't see until too late what goes on. And the other thing I want to get into the death of Felipe Garzona. That's Batman 424, but that kind of leads into the death. But before that, I was like reading one of the issues. I think it's one of the new
420, 422.
It's not 422. Well, what happened in 422? That's
when he a pimp's about to hit a prostitute, and Tim and Jason uses his excessive force to stop him. And Bruce, he says to Bruce, would have been that much big of a loss if he died. Yeah. And that kind of foreshadows 424, but go on what you're talking about.
No, this is the one where this is a Teen Titans issue. It's when I think it's Donna has formed the Teen Titans, the Teen Titans again, because the original Teen Titans are gone. I think it's like Teen Titans 20 or something like that. It's let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's the new Teen Titans. I think it must be like volume 2 or something like that. 20. And she's formed the new team to kind of go and take care of an issue, and it's Robin. I'm trying to see what's on the cover. It's Robin, Speedy, Wally is Flash, but he's actually is the Flash. Let's see, Aqualad, and I think it's Hawk, right? And they have Robin, and Robin is Jason Todd. And this is when Jason Todd kind of quote unquote joins the Teen Titans. He's there for a little bit, but not again. Jason Todd's time as Robin is not that long.
He's barely a Titan, but him being a Titan's important to him.
It's important to him, but it also shows, because later on when he comes back, there's that whole thing with him, like, where's his statue and why didn't they mourn him? And you kind of get why in this new Teen Titans issue 20, because the entire time Donna, who's taking leadership of this team, and she keeps turning to Robin for like advice. Again, this is a 12-year-old kid, right? He's a young kid. And you can't find out. And then later towards the end of the issue, she kind of apologizes, like, I keep seeing the Robin costume, and I keep thinking that you're Dick. I keep thinking, and I would turn, because again, Dick Grayson, leader. Everybody turns to Dick Grayson for leadership. Yeah. So she sees that Robin costume, and she immediately thinks leadership. And Jason Todd, at least at this point, is not a leader. He's not. And so this idea, and while it seems like it seems innocuous that she's like, oh, well, she's just, not used to a new Robin and blah, blah, blah. But the idea of her going like, I just assumed you were a dick, it also kind of reinforces the idea that Jason is always living in Dick Grayson's shadow. Mm-hmm. And so now, not only is he dealing with this shit with Bruce, but even in a group that, when you go to Teen Titans, you immediately think either Dick Grayson or Tim Drake. They have
that's a very true point.
They have their nobody confuses Tim Drake in the Robin suit for Dick Grayson, right? But when you had Jason there, he was. And so I think that also kind of influences what happens with Jason, where he has no real outlet and he has nobody really there. I mean, other than Alfred, which is there for everybody because that's who Alfred is. Like, everybody else is kind of looking at him as the replacement Robin, the rebound Robin, the not Dick Grayson. I mean, and even the way
great value Dick Grayson.
Great value Dick Grayson. So yeah. So then we get to Batman issue number 424. And this is the death of Felipe Garzona, who was another gangster, was beating his wife or his girlfriend or whatever. And Robin tries to take him down, and
he wasn't just a gangster who hit his girlfriend. He was a serial rapist.
Oh God, that too. Sorry.
So one of his victims. So Felipe Garzonas, he wouldn't be prosecuted because his father had diplomatic immunity.
Yes.
And one of his victims, Gloria, hung herself, and when Felipe threatened to rape her for a third time, Todd finds her hanging there, gets to Felipe, and Batman arrives just in time to see Felipe fall 22 stories to his death, with Robin at the edge. Jason says, I guess I spooked him. He slipped.
And like, swings away. So here's the question. Did he push him or did he fall?
It's never answered.
I know. So is Felipe Jason's first kill?
We don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Is
I don't know either.
Or is it the death that made him okay with it?
Yeah. Because
he felt nothing. It's like, well, I guess it's not that bad. Bruce can be wrong about some shit.
Because if we're going to be honest here, like, to me, the answer is yes, it is his first kill, and it doesn't matter if he pushed him or not.
I say he didn't push him.
Well, no. But here's my thing: it's his first kill, even if he didn't push him. Because here's the thing: if he falls, what is you're Batman, you're Robin, you still try to catch him. You still try. He didn't even try. He saw him fall. He could have caught him. He could have saved him. He didn't even bother to.
Which is why Batman Begins bugs me anyway.
So, just saying.
Not my job to save. I think that's what Bruce says.
Right. He does.
But yeah, you're right. You're probably right that it's his first kill regardless. I do think, based on especially the things we've seen recently, he wouldn't have pushed him wearing the suit.
No, I don't think so either. No.
I don't think he would have pushed him wearing. He respects the suit, respects Batman. You may not like him, and we'll talk about some shit that he goes down, but...
Well, I also think that, you got to remember, even with Jason, and I think this is true of maybe all Robins except for Tim, I guess Tim too. They're all... Tim's a weird one. We'll get to Tim when we revisit Tim. We'll get into them. Tim's a weird one because he's the one that basically, he knew it all. He knew what he was getting into. I think nobody else really knew what they were getting into. But they all, like you said, they all respect the suit, and they all want to make Bruce proud. And so you're right. I do not think that he would have pushed him. I do think that he could have saved him and didn't. But I don't. I think that's where you start seeing, because every Robin also has their disagreements with Bruce and their philosophy.
They're Bruce clones,
right? And I think that's where Jason is. He's like, yo. He really is on that. Yeah, I won't push him, I won't kill him, but we don't have to save him. Same thing when he broke the that guy's collarbone, and Bruce was like, listen, you broke the guy's collarbone. Now he can't talk. We can't get information from him. And Jason's like, and he deserved it. Like, we didn't kill him. He's still alive. And yeah.
Jason even apologized. Like, you're right. I shouldn't have hit him because we could have gotten information, but I'm not sorry he's hurt.
Right. So you're right. I don't think he pushed him. I do think he could have saved him and didn't.
That's probably fair. That's probably a good way to go to it, because we're gonna come up on death in the family.
Yes.
And if you hear me hesitate, it's because it's still weird. It's still weird for me.
I mean, they made a decision based off of a call number. I'm just saying.
Well, let's talk about in story. We'll go meta afterwards. In story, Jason Todd discovers that his mother wasn't his mother. He follows a number of leads and tracks his biological mother to Ethiopia.
Because there's a thing also to remember. There's varying degrees of this, but every Robin is a great detective.
A great detective.
Right.
And even Jason, who's not a great detective, was trained by fucking Batman.
Right.
So he's not a bad detective. Like, people, I love that when people write, like, Jason kind of is this hulking brute. And I'm like, you guys do know he's a Robin, but you realize that he's only doing that when he's around the other Robins. It doesn't have to be the detective.
Right.
He's a meathead when he's around Tim and Dick. He's like, well, if they didn't think of it, I'm surely not going to.
We'll get into this later. We'll get to this later, but I did, and I think you recommended it. I ended up reading the Red Hood Lost Years.
Yeah,
you see it there. Yeah, we'll talk about this later on. But yeah, he when he wants to be, he can be a good detective.
He's real good.
Right.
So he tracks all these things to his alleged biological mother in Ethiopia. She's working as a worker, and apparently she was being blackmailed by the Joker to provide medical supplies because she'd been embezzling. So she hands over her son, who she's figured out, I guess, in correspondence as Robin, to the Joker, who beats him with a crowbar and leaves him and his mother in a warehouse with a bomb. They try to get out. Bomb goes off. Batman arrives too late and pulls Jason's lifeless body from the rubble. The death haunts Batman for years, and he hangs Robin's uniform in display in the Batcave as a reminder. Now, how did Robin actually die? So, DC decided to make some money and had a number you could call to vote die or no die on Jason Todd. It was a cliffhanger. They said, oh, the phone lines are open. Jim Aparo, who drew the comic and who has sold this art since, it exists a panel where Bruce pulls the body out of the rubble with a smile on his face saying he's alive. There's a 1-900 number voting system. And yeah, it's nuts. It is nuts because the way it happened is insane. And there's also been, so in the back of 427, an advertisement was run featuring Batman carrying Robin and said that the ad readers said Robin would die because Joker wants revenge, but they can prevent it with a telephone call. 2 numbers were given, 1-900-720-2660 for Robin to live, and the same number, 2666, dirty fuckers, for Robin to die. The phone numbers were active for 36 hours from September 15th, 1988 to September 16th, and readers were charged 50 cents a call. 10,614 votes were cast in 36 hours in 1988. The final tally was 5,343 in favor of death versus 271 for survival. 72 vote margin. The author, Denny O'Neil, later admitted to voting in favor of Robin living. And while I don't feel great about the story, I really don't feel great about how it happened.
No, that's a terrible way to do it, guys.
I do think that it allowed you to go into Batman in a way that we have never seen Batman. We've never seen a grieving Batman.
Yeah.
We've never seen a truly incensed Batman. We saw flashes of it, like when Ra's al Ghul's first appearance is punctuated by him kidnapping Robin from the Batcave. Mm-hmm. You see rage. But we got to run a Bat comics that kind of was the first analysis of how a similar trauma that formed him would further shape him.
I mean, because here's the thing.
At this age.
He lost a son.
He lost his son. His son was murdered by the fucking Joker.
By his greatest villain. Who he then has to put...
always left live.
Which will come back later with Jason, right?
And so will the crowbar.
Comes with a little bit of a sticking point between him and Jason. But it's true. It's like, Batman won't cross his line, but even when your family's killed, which is wild because it doesn't just stop there. The story continues because the Joker finagles his way into the Iranian government and becomes the Iranian ambassador to the UN. So he tells Batman where to find him, the UN building in New York. Mm-hmm.
He's giving a speech, and he was going to try to kill the entire chamber, because that's what he does.
It's the Joker.
He's going to stop the Joker. And the Joker gets away again. And it goes on this run of this analysis. For me, this is the moment Batman comics kind of grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't about the unresolved trauma of a child.
It's not a grieving father.
The mission changes. It's now a father whose son has been stolen from him.
And I will say that there's one thing, because again, it takes we have some stuff in between before Jason comes back. But that's the thing about when Jason does come back. Jason doesn't know everything Jason doesn't know what Bruce goes through in this.
He knows he's back and Joker's still alive. He
knows that Joker's still alive. He knows there's now a new Robin, and Jason's understandably hurt, but he does not understand that Bruce went to a dark place. And because Bruce does not talk to people, nobody can really understand this. But yeah, like for instance, it's when we get into the Red Hood Lost years, like Talia sees it. That's one of the reasons why she kind of goes with the whole idea of how we can bring Jason back, is because it becomes very noticeable to anybody outside that Bruce is hurting. It's noticeable to this young kid named Tim Drake that Batman is hurting ever since Jason died, because he figures the shit out. We'll save that for when we get into the part 2. But yeah, but again, Jason doesn't see that, and there's other reasons why Jason's a little crazy when he comes back as well, because Lazarus will do that to you. But we're jumping ahead right now, so
let's go back. So now we've put, proverbially, of course, Jason Todd on the ground.
Yes.
This actually is the bridge that starts to rebuild Dick's relationship with Batman.
Yes.
Because as far as Batman blaming himself, Dick also blamed himself. He could have been a better big brother. He could have been a better mentor. He could have not let his issues with Bruce cloud his ability to help mold this new Robin.
Yes.
And he's, at this point in his life, he's mostly a Titan. He's dealing with the things we covered instead with Titans Hunt. He's dealing with the Wilderness Society. And eventually he'd deal with a lonely place in dying with the introduction
of Tim Drake,
who we'll talk about. We've talked about before. We'll talk about again. But let's talk about Dick's story, because mostly he operates at this point as an ancillary character to the Bat family. He's kind of Bat, kind of not. When Night's End happened and when Nightfall happened, he's there. He is there to help try to take down Jean Paul Valley. He can't. It's one of the reasons why Bruce comes back, because he's like, he's got that big ass suit. I can't take him down. We need the Bat. And when Batman comes back, he's not 100% back. So Dick decides for the first time ever to wear the cowl. One of the reasons he went to Jean Paul is because Bruce said, I didn't think it was fair to you to ask me to do this.
Because one of the things that because you see this in Battle for the Cowl later on, that Dick doesn't really want to.
Dick's like, to be honest, I don't want to either.
Right.
But he does it because that's and it was such I love that little run of Prodigal.
Yeah, Prodigal Son,
It's made concrete for the first time in continuity. Obviously retcons will show it later, but just how much he respects Dick. And just how much he respects him for leaving and making his own. It's like, I thought it was unfair, but I need you. I wouldn't ask if I didn't need it. And you see that some of the walls that Bruce put up for Dick and that Dick would see were less walls, more acknowledgement of you as your own person.
Yeah, it's because you got to remember also, we were dealing with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is also a child who grew up without his father. Yes, Alfred was there, but it was an angry child that didn't have a father. And so Bruce's way of dealing with things is normal. So I would even say that when it comes to Dick Grayson and Jason, those are his early attempts at fatherhood, where he didn't really understand. I mean, this is a guy who and it's not just being fatherhood; it's his early attempts at single fatherhood. He's a single father, and he makes mistakes with both of them in terms of like with Dick, he in some ways he holds on too tight and isn't expressive and doesn't talk enough. With Jason, he's almost too standoffish, and doesn't give each of them what they need. Like Jason needed more love because of his anger. And Bruce thought that just making him Robin and giving him a way to express his rage was going to be enough to take care of that. And that's not how rage works.
But, and it's one of those things that I actually like that telling of Batman because he screwed up. And he didn't want to screw up, but he did.
I'll go back to, I think this is why the Bat books, people say we talk about how Batman heavy DC is, but the reason why the Bat books work is because it is human. It is so human. Like, you understand, yes, you know what? There is a reason why the earlier people are with Bruce, they have scars. Like Barbara has her issues, Dick has his issues, and Jason has issues. Why? Because they were there from the beginning, and they're dealing with somebody who's also going through some shit, and you totally understand why. While they can't let go of each other, you understand where their issues come at, and it's real. It's just it's the most real thing that you can write. It's a single father and his kids, and the mistakes that happen along the way.
And so Bruce comes back, takes the mantle. Dick kind of wrestles with, what am I supposed to be? He eventually comes to grips with that he should be Nightwing and that any imitation of Bruce is because Bruce is worth imitating, which I thought was actually a really good wrap-up of that last miniseries. And then we get the launching of the Nightwing ongoing series.
Who wrote that? Was that Chuck Dixon as well?
Yep. I think it was Dick Grayson read the run that I liked, but Chuck Dixon launched it.
Yeah, Chuck Dixon wrote he did a lot of those year one runs too as well. And Chuck Dixon, we always mention, Dennis O'Neil, Bill Finger and things like that, but we got to mention Chuck Dixon for the stuff he did there. Because that
Chuck
Robin,
Dixon's the reason why Nightwing went to Bloodhaven.
Yeah.
And this is the period where that 75 issue run I mentioned earlier, it starts here. It's a great run. It's a strong run. There's some issues that aren't great, but of course. But this is where you watch Nightwing, and he's wearing now the black with the blue highlights, the suit probably most identified with Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
And
he really becomes his own character here. He has his own series. He gets his own rogue gallery. He's in a new city, Bloodhaven, which is basically they even say is like worst Gotham. Worser Gotham, he becomes his own thing. And again, at this point, we're only in the 90s. If I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because as things were happening, and as the stories get told, they're kind of doing a deconstruction of Nightwing, deconstruction of Dick Grayson, and at one point, his major bad Blockbuster, who'd been kind of terrorizing Bloodhaven for years, he's murdered by a vigilante named Tarantula, and Nightwing was there and didn't stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And Nightwing goes from there to kind of questioning himself and questioning the mission, and he ends up back in Gotham. And then they destroy Bloodhaven in the lead up to, during Infinite Crisis, Infinite Crisis. And for anyone who was on message boards or reading comics at the time, you'll remember that this is when the rumors were floating that they were going to kill Dick Grayson. And if you go reread Infinite Crisis with this knowledge, it's explained that Nightwing was originally, this is from the editors of DC during the DC panel at Wizard Philadelphia. It was again explained that Nightwing was originally intended to die in Infinite Crisis. You see that in the arc was supposed to end with his death in the series. After long discussions, the death edict was finally reversed, but the decision was made that if we were going to keep him, we had to be changed. The next ongoing series will further explain the changes. And so after the crisis, Tim, Dick, and Bruce leave. And they travel the world during that 1 year later arc. And New 52 and all that good stuff. And they kind of recenter themselves. But before this happened, Jason Todd came back.
Thanks to Superboy punching
the walls of reality, which was the most comic booky explanation. But then we got other. If you ever get a chance, and we're going to talk about other media in a second, go watch. It's on. I know it's free, and maybe on the CWC, it may have been taken off because of DC Universe. But Under the Red Hood is an animated movie. It's about 75 minutes, and it tells the Red Hood story better than what about itself.
I'm about to say I like the animated. This is one of the times where I do like the anime. I think because it condenses it, it gets to the point.
Nice. Yeah,
it's very concise. Like,
shit.
yeah, I haven't read it again. Skim through it again. The red and here's the thing: the Red Hood stuff is on DC Universe. So if you have DC Universe, you can, and they actually have it. And I like. So here's one thing I will say. Going back to some stuff I will say good about DC Universe. The one thing I do find better that they do better than what Marvel Unlimited does. They break out stories. So if you want to read like Under the Red Hood, they'll have, and they know that spans like multiple books. They'll have all the books underneath there, so you'll have the story arcs, which I think is important. I think you start needing to break these out in story arcs because that becomes very, very, very important, especially when they span over multiple books. So, Under Red Hood is under there on DC Universe, and I haven't gone back and read it. It's not bad. It just covers a lot of extremes. You said what now?
You got to deal with a lot of other stuff, like the kryptonite stealing and all that other stuff. Like,
it's
not a Batman story, but it's a Batman story that occurs in the offices. Because you remember all the books were leading up into Infinite Crisis at that time. So there's a lot of other moving parts.
Yeah.
Let's talk first about Lost Days.
Okay. Yes.
Because you finally read it.
Yes.
And
Red Hood: The Lost Years. Yes.
What happened was Jason, because of Superboy punching a wall of reality, one day I'm going to do all the crises in like a solo podcast just to get everyone to just so I don't have to say things like this and feel weird saying.
We say that here's the thing, we mention this all the time. Like we always everything leads to crises in here. Like even like here's a weird thing. You should have known Jason was coming back after Infinite Crisis because the last major thing that happened to Jason, other than his death, was Crisis, right? Every time there's a crisis, something happens with Jason Todd. It's just Jason Todd is unlucky with crises. So anyway, I'm sorry.
So the Lost Days picks up from Jason awakening in his grave, buried on the Wayne Manor grounds. He busts out of his own grave, but because he spent a year, he was in a coffin. He collapses and is taken to the hospital where some of my favorite parts of the Bat like mythos come to light. Like they get reminded of you. Like none of these boys have their fingerprints on file anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
None of them. So he spends a year in a coma, and then he was a vagrant on the streets with no memory who tried to get robbed by another homeless man and used a move that someone watching remembered Robin doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the word gets to Talia al Ghul. Everyone's killed who saw him, of course. And she spends a long time trying to get him back to full health. He can't do it. So he can still fight because of muscle reflex, but doesn't remember who he is.
Yeah. He's a shell.
He's a shell.
And this is, yeah. And this is where you find out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I was going to say, Talia was like, this is also when Talia was figuring out that, Batman, she's keeping an eye on the detective because she's telling her father too that he's changed. He's harder. He's been more brutal, And like at one point, one of the guys, she's talking to one of her guys who's keeping tabs on Batman. He's like, he's kind of evolved to understanding that what he needs to do. And she's like, no, you're being stupid. He's grieving. Like he's not beating these people up because he's come along to our side of thinking that these criminals need to be punished. He's grieving. Like, and her idea is if she can bring Jason Todd back to him, maybe he will love her.
So, and to that end, she pushes him in a Lazarus pit.
Get your father's wishes.
And sends him off into the night with the one phrase, "You remain unavenged." So if your plan was to have him be a gift, maybe don't send him out there with that message.
Because here's the thing. Well, we covered this before when we talk about the Lazarus pit and Raish. Like, it makes you kind of it doesn't do no favors. And even her father tells her like, you have no idea what you've unleashed on the world. It's like you this guy, he was an empty shell full of rage, and you just push him into the Lazarus pit, which already kind of brings you back a little. It doesn't bring you back normal, right? So, yeah. Talia quickly realizes her mistake.
But in realizing her mistake, rewatch, I think it's like a 5-issue mini or maybe 6.
It's like
we watched Jason kind of finish his training.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Well, he does, because some of these people actually train Batman.
Well, yeah, he finishes it, but he goes the extra mile. I like that one where he was talking to the guy who the hand-to-hand combat specialist. He was like, there's some things that Batman wouldn't teach you. Batman didn't teach you how to maim, right? Teach you how to maybe break bones, maybe how to do this. He doesn't teach you how to maim. This guy was teaching Jason how to maim people. You know, and so I guess you're right in a way. Finish his training in stuff that Batman would never, Bruce would never train him.
Well, the thing is, my point was he only got 6 months.
Well, that too.
He's never properly finished his training, and so before even this starts, he has a chance to kill Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He puts a bomb under the car. Batman gets in it, and he says, "Hand the trigger." He said, but then he wouldn't know.
Let me just tell you, because you're underselling this. Because the scene with the Batmobile, because he's like, yo, you know, the Batmobile is set to like it defends itself if it sees anybody approaching. Like, this is not just an easy task. He's like, he gets a special suit that hides his thermals, and then he moves at like an inch every 5 seconds or something like that. And he's like, it's going to take me, because he basically sets up a thing so that Batman's going to be away taking down some drug dealers. And he's like, it gives me 3 hours to make it off this roof and to the Batmobile, plant the bomb, and then make it back up without it going off. And I'm just like, oh, he really hates Batman. Like, so yeah, I just had to go in there because it's like, you kind of undersold it, just how much he, like, yeah.
It's true. But after all that shit, he decides not to blow him up.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on and trains from firearms, like you said, hand-to-hand, explosions, and he learns about a man who's teaching him assassination who also runs a child sex ring. Mm-hmm. Jason poisons that motherfucker and burns the place to the ground.
Yeah, tells the dude's like, you think you go be hand-to-hand? He's like, no, that's why I poisoned your drink.
Why would I fight you, you idiot?
Right. And so you start finding it. So it was interesting because the other thing too is Talia's kind of stalling him because she's like, she realizes her mistake because she's like, wait, he said he wanted to kill Batman? That's not what I want him to do. That
didn't go well.
Bad Jason. No. So she's stalling him by having him go through all these other trainings and do all these other things and meet all these other people, right? And as she's doing this, she's like, she tells Jason at one point, she's like, so you're kind of being a detective? Because he's like, you're killing some of the people, you're killing some of the teachers I'm taking you to. She's like, I'm killing all of them. Like, this one was, going to try to kill her husband and her daughter. This one was a pedophile. She's like, so you're kind of doing investigations? You're kind of being a detective? It's like, don't do that.
Oh, it's all very Batman.
Oh, yeah. No, it is. It's just killer Batman. It's killer Batman. Use the people for what you're going to use them for, and then kill them when they're done. So yeah.
And he eventually makes his way back to Gotham, and decides to plan something else. And then he's approached by a man named Hush, who has a plan. Oh,
so even if we're ready to get into Hush.
I mean, don't we have to? What else is
Well, no. I was going to say before we get, because to me in that Lost Years thing, there are three things he decides. So the first one is that he's going to try to. He goes through three phases. One, he's going to kill Bruce, and we because we haven't also got down to why he's so angry. He's angry because Bruce didn't avenge him. He's angry because the thing that sets him off.
My fault. I died.
Yeah, the thing that sets him off is he's in a hotel room when after Talia pushes him over a cliff and tells him to escape. He gets there. He finds out that Batman, after he's dead, Batman took Joker back to Arkham. He turned Batman in. And so that's what set Jason off. He's like, you couldn't even avenge me. So at first he goes through, he wants to kill Batman. Second one is like, I'm gonna kill the Joker. So he sets with the Joker. And he goes to kill the Joker. He's like, no, that's still not perfect. Still not what he wants. So the final thing he figures out is, and this is when Talia kind of also then backs him up because at this point, she blames her father's death on Bruce. Is he wants to take Gotham back from Batman. He wants to prove that Batman's methods are wrong. So it's not enough for him to kill Batman, not enough for him to kill the Joker. He wants to prove that Bruce and his methods were wrong. And so now we get into Hush.
So he gets approached by a man named Hush who's got a plan to spring on Batman. and he wants to be in. And when you read Hush the first time, you think, oh God, Jason Todd's back, but they show it's Clayface.
Mm-hmm.
Retcon later to show that Jason was there. And that he and Clayface switched places at one point. And it's the first time we see Jason interact with Bruce in a direct way. Mm-hmm. After this, Bruce starts an investigation into Scarecrow and starts seeing visions of Jason. He writes it off as fear gas, but after the end of the mission, Alfred found Jason's mask in the Batmobile. Mm-hmm. Black Mask becomes the unquestioned leader of Gotham's underworld. And the Red Hood appears. He starts beating the shit out of everyone. He beats up Batman and Nightwing in a great fight.
Yeah.
Then steals a shipment of kryptonite from Black Mask.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all have to fight against Mr. Freeze together.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves behind the kryptonite. And one of my favorite things he says to Nightwing, he said, I got what I wanted. What was that? Lay of the land?
Mm-hmm.
He then tracked down the Joker and beat him with a crowbar and took him hostage. What happens next is kind of Infinite Crisis had to happen. I get it. Whatever the storytelling. I wish we'd gotten more of this next because the Red Hood single-handedly takes over the Black Mask Empire.
Yeah.
He's just killing. He's proving to be a better. Like that's one of the things you touched on. He's proving to Bruce, I'm doing this better than you ever could.
Mm-hmm.
They finally confront each other. They finally get into a fight, and he finally takes up the mask and says, "It's me, Jason. You don't believe it. I know you don't believe it. Your mind's running right now." He takes a batarang and cuts his own skin and tosses it to him and says, "There, tissue and blood. Run your tests. I'm doing this better than you ever could." About this point, when Jason breaks into Titan Tower and beats the shit out of Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Never not funny to me.
No, but he also again, it's another one of those things where you also get, Jason realizing it's like Tim has something that he didn't get. He's accepted by the Teen Titans. He has friends, and again, it just kind of fuels that anger from Jason that it's like he never got a fair shake. The Robin before him and after him were embraced, and he never was. Like Tim doesn't live in Dick's shadow. I did.
Well, Tim's view is that he lives in Jason.
Right. But again, it goes back to the perspective that Jason has, where Jason never understands. Jason sees from his point of view. He never sees that. If you just asked me, I would have told you. It's like, dude.
Jason thinks he never mattered, and he doesn't realize
he mattered.
He mattered to everyone.
Yeah.
So he comes back to Gotham, keeps taking down Black Masks. Eventually, he and Batman have to fight together against a bunch of Secret Society supervillains. He ends up killing Captain Nazi, which honestly, this guy.
I mean, it's Captain Nazi. Can you really?
Nazi. It all ends with a standoff: Joker, Jason, and Batman. And a large explosion takes out the building. We go to 1 year later.
I will say this. I will say, gotta appreciate, because I like it even more in the. I like it even more in the whatchamacallit, in the animated one, because Joker is such an asshole during that when Jason and Batman are fighting. He is such an asshole. I mean, he's an asshole in the comic too, but it just feels better when you're listening to him say it. He's like, he's like, who's got a camera? Dracula, you must have a digital pick-a-poo on you, the hardware store you wear around your waist. Get me one with the kid first, then you and me, then the three of us, then one with the crowbar. It's just like, he's an asshole. Like, and then when you watch it, when you watch the animated one, it's even funnier because like Joker's all like, "Oh, who the fuck is this kid?" Then when he finds out it's Jason, he like perks up and he's just all excited and he's happy. He's like, "Jason, oh my friend!" It's just
well, he gets to kill him again in his mind. He's like, right. I never get to kill someone twice.
Right.
This is great. So let's talk about the rest of Preview 2 of Jason really quickly. From there, it kind of spiraled because for me, that was kind of the high water mark. After 1 year later, Nightwing comes back to Bloodhaven and finds out he's been replaced by a murderous Nightwing, who of course is Jason.
Of course.
They make him some sort of scare beast. It gets really weird. That was bad. Jason's been involved in Countdown, which I'm not going to talk about here. I refuse. I'm not going to do it.
I don't think I've ever read anything about Countdown, and I don't think I ever will. And I think every time we do a comic book a character corner, we just skip over it all, which I think is fair.
The thing is, I reread Countdown in the last 5 years, and it's fine, but it's not good. It's fine. So the next big arc that involves both of them is Nightwing. Well, Batman dies.
Yeah.
We're talking about dies. Batman falls, and there's a battle for the Cowl.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason.
Obviously, it's me, right? Obviously, I'm the one that can fill this.
Jason puts on a bat suit and starts killing people. And Dick's like, we got to stop him. We put on the Cowl. I'm not putting on the suit. You got to put on the suit. I'm not putting on the suit. So eventually, he wins. He beats Jason. After Jason's taken out most people, Jason's beat the shit out of most of Gotham, including Catwoman, including Tim Drake. And he stabs Tim in the chest. He's going to die.
Yeah.
And then you get to see why at the end of the series, because Bruce left all of them like kind of video wills, and Tim breaks him out of prison so that he can see Bruce's message to him.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce's message is essentially just get help.
Yeah, so I got it right here in front of me because Dick goes back. Dick goes like, I know why Jason is doing this. I know why Jason is feeling this way because he probably got Bruce's will. So it's like, Jason, by now you've been told of my death, or you're probably surprised to be invited back to the cave. But like Tim and Dick, I'm leaving you with the one thing I can't give anymore: advice. All of my failures, you have been my biggest. I take full responsibility for your wayward and self-destructive path in life. You were broken. I thought I could put the pieces back together. I thought I could do for you what could never be done for me, make you whole. What happened to you as a child, the terror, the pain, the horrors. But that secret is one that neither of us should have kept. You needed repair. Instead, I gave you an outlet to act out, and for that, I apologize. But it's not too late for you to get the proper healing you never received. It's not too late for me to help you. It's time for you to stop what you're doing. Alfred knows a brilliant doctor. Yeah. And you can kind of see that, again, when you have somebody who's full of rage and is operated basically on rage, I think that Jason can't deal, because you've seen this before. Jason can't deal with, Bruce being truly sorry. He needs Bruce to, I think at the time, Jason still needed Bruce to not understand.
Right.
And
the idea that Bruce got it and felt bad invalidated Jason's entire world.
Exactly. Now it made nothing he was doing make sense, and it put it back on him. And Jason at this point has been spending so much time blaming other people for his own mistakes. Like I said, you're right to be angry at what Bruce did and Bruce not telling you about, Bruce not doing something about Joker. I get that. But your reaction to that was way overblown. Way beyond that. It's like Barbara didn't do that when Joker fucking shot her in the spine. Like, you're right to be angry, but this idea, because here's the thing, Barbara was angry. Barbara could have been the first Jason. She was very, very angry at what Bruce did and didn't do, afterwards. But she didn't go the route that Jason did. And Jason doesn't want to take responsibility for the choices he made afterwards. So, yep. Yeah.
And from there, the universe kind of ends. Like, Dick wins the Cowl, and we've covered, I think, in the comic book club, the run of Dick and Damian, which we'll talk about it more when we get to Damian.
And I don't know what to say. We'll save the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin run for Damian, because that involves it.
It's great.
It's great, and we've talked about it several times. We talked about it when we did the Batman stuff, but we're also going to talk about it again when we'll do Damian. So let's just we'll skip over that for now. And I guess we'll go into New 52. Yeah,
where both guys were given kind of fresh, clean slates, kind of taken to the core of the character. Red Hood launched with a book called Red Hood and the Outlaws, alongside Starfire and Arsenal. It wasn't very good at first, I'll be honest. Nightwing's book, however, I thought introduced really well. He wasn't going to Bloodhaven, but he was going to just be with Haley's. He was going to be all over Haley's and just travel with the circus and try to refine his roots. And of course, there's a crime there, and he finds that. But the place that brings them both back to Gotham, is the Night of Owls, Court of Owls storyline. They both come back and are integral parts of it there. And then we get our first Bat family story in the 52, the death of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be my favorite Joker story.
Yeah.
Because it features a Joker who's cut his own face off and had it reattached with strap. And it's basically Joker taunting the family. And he says, and in the end, the mission was never... So the death in the family clearly alludes back to the death of Jason Todd. But death of the family shows how this really happened, because at the end of this story, everyone's alive, but the family's broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jason's out. Dick says, I gotta go. No one really wants to be involved with Bruce anymore.
Because Bruce didn't tell them about the Joker, so he kept it all to himself, and it's like, this is how people get hurt. You've done this before, you've tried this before. This isn't the way we can do this.
And then the DCU kind of takes a weird turn with both these characters. So they take Jason in like this mystical kung fu place with I believe it's the Untitled is the name of the...
Well, that was I did start reading some of the New 52 stuff.
It's not great.
It's not great. They try to explain some of the stuff that instead of having Talia take him to all these random people, she took him to this. I can't remember what the name of the hidden city was.
The city is.
Yeah,
I can't find it.
I can't.
Somewhere the all casts.
The all cast. There you go. And it's just
him in the Himalayas. Yes.
Right. And so you're right. It's all over the place. It's not really great.
Waters where you didn't have to.
And it does this weird thing with him and Starfire and Dick Grayson, because Dick Grayson and Starfire had a thing going. It's just like, it's a lot. I did find. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that. Give me the highlights of this. I want to hear what you like to.
Well, the highlight to me is with the whole thing dealing with Jason's memories. When he gives up his memories, and you do see that. Some of his best memories are the memories he had with Bruce, and Bruce being that father to him. Like there's one memory he gives up where it's he's too sick to go out, and Alfred's telling Bruce is like, "Yo, Master Todd is too sick to go out," and he's like, "Man, Robin knows if he's sick enough or not." He sees Robin Kelly, he's like, "All right, you're staying here. You're too sick. We don't need to do this." So Jason's all mad, goes upstairs, and still in his Robin costume, and sitting there on the couch. And then Bruce comes in and is still in his costume. It's just like, it's okay to take a night off sometime. They get some popcorn, and Bruce and Jason just sits there and lays his head on Bruce's shoulder, and they watch TV. It's like,
there's some really I didn't want to get. They're like, so I don't love the plot line of the back half of Red Hood and the Outlaws.
No, no. I don't either.
But there's so many great Bruce and Tim and Jason moments.
And that's why I liked that. Those are the pieces I like. I like the pieces where they show you where. Because these are moments you never really got. You get them with everybody else, and you see that, no, this also explains where... Because it also then explains where Jason's anger comes in at, because he's like, I am just as much part of this family as everybody else. Mm-hmm. Bruce was my father, too.
He had it. He had it, and he lost it.
Yeah. And
I think part of it, and we'll see it when we talk about my favorite issue of New 52, of anything in the last probably 5 years, is when they're dealing with the fallout of what Batwoman did in Detective Comics. And Jason's like, look, I know you guys don't expect me to think this, but I really respect this. I lost it. And I think part of it is that he's mad at himself for having lost it. He said, I lost it, and I've worked really hard to get back in this. Mm-hmm. He says, you guys may not respect what I have to say, but I'm the one of us in this room who knows what it's like to lose his family and have to earn it back. Mm-hmm. And it's an outlook I'd never... It was one of the reasons I was like, James Tynion just killed this, because it's a way I've never looked at Jason. Mm-hmm. I've never looked at him as a kid who had the gold, lost the gold, decided he told everyone he didn't want it anymore, and then looked back and was like, yo, I fucked up.
Yeah, that's all I wanted. That's all he wanted. Yeah, man.
It's really well-written stuff, in my opinion. And from there, like, Dick goes to Chicago, and I actually really liked the Chicago run of Nightwing, but he gets involved in the Forever Evil thing, and he dies on camera and becomes a secret agent. Which is kind of interesting. I liked the Grayson book. It is the first book written by, I think that's Tom King. Let me make sure, because I want to look up Grayson Volume 1, because I did read part of it for this. Grayson was written by the creative team of course. Yeah, it was Tom King. That's where you got to start, because Tom King is ex-CIA guy, so of course, spy book with Dick Grayson, get a CIA guy to write it. And so he gets involved with this organization called Spiral, and what you find out is he's actually a spy for Batman.
Of course.
He's like, yeah, we agreed to do this because we need to figure out what's going on here. And he brings down like the infiltrated Spiral. It brings down the things that are going wrong there. And it's brought back for like in-game and things like that, the end of Scott Snyder's run. And I really enjoyed like his coming back after that. And I don't know if you've read this yet, and we should probably talk about it more when we get to the other Robins, but Robin War was really good.
I did not yet.
Let's say that for the second one because it touches on it's Batman's in it in flashback, but he's not in any of the present of it because it happens after Endgame and when Batman's supposed to not be out of action.
Okay.
It's with Jim Gordon's Batman. So
okay.
So this for me is one of my favorite runs, and we'll talk about that then. But let's talk about kind of what's happening now. They just took the writer off the book, and he had come on the heels of a lot of for my money, a pretty good run, and he kind of tried to do a bit more high concept stuff with Grayson. I didn't love the Nightwing stuff that happened there. I really enjoyed the latest Red Hood and Outlaws run with Bizarro and Artemis as his running mates, Jason's running mates. So basically, the story opens with him shooting the mayor of Gotham in the face. They flash back like 2 days prior, and Jason's saying to Bruce, I want to be back, I want to help the family, but I can't do it your way, and you know that. He says, if you're going to wear the bat, you can't kill. He says, that's fine, I won't kill anyone. But I need to do something to make them think that they've got it. So what happened was apparently the doll maker had been seeding Gotham officials with nanobots, and he shot him with the antitoxin. But in this, he gets accepted in the underworld and becomes Batman's spy in the underworld. And they go through all these misadventures. He recruits Bizarro, recruits Artemis. It's a really good series. It just wrapped up. I think they're at 27 now where they're going in a new direction. But if you want to read a fun Jason Todd story, 1 through 25 of the latest run of Red Hood Outlaws, I can heartily recommend. But it ends with him discovering that his father may not have been killed the way he found out he thought he was. And he ends up shooting the Penguin in the face and killing him. And then you get your first ever knockdown, drag out Batman versus Red Hood fight. And Bruce whips his ass. Bruce, and it's so funny because at one point Jason's getting beats about it. Says, I've never seen you this mad at the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He hits him hard. And Arsenal shows up and pulls him out of the fire, but it's a brutal fucking fight. Like I think it's Red Hood and the Outlaws 25. It's a really good issue. It's a really good run. It was one of my monthly picks for a while. But I'll see where this new direction is going because what's happened in the new direction is they've turned him into the Punisher. And unless there's going to be some sort of twist here, I think they're missing the point of Jason because a lot of people come to Jason as he's the killer. He's the killer Robin. Like, well, yeah, he kills. But he doesn't kill indiscriminately. And that's not what defines it. And I'm almost worried because of what I'm not worried because I think there's a plan. But they've got me in that place where I'm a little uneasy, which is a good place to be with a comic book, I think, sometimes. Like, well, how are you going to fix this shit? Because you don't know. Because they've never said, like, there's no funeral for Penguin. There's no mention of their books. So it's my thinking this is also a red herring and that something's going on here.
Yeah.
But we'll know. Like, the thing about it more than anything else, you can hear it in my voice, I'm invested and I care. No, so that's what you can really ask for.
Well, that's good. And like I said, it's an interesting thing because we're doing Robins and I guess we're wrapping up because there's nothing we got up.
I want to do other media before we get out of here.
Oh, we'll do other media, but like when it comes to comic book medium, for these two, at this point, we have to cover them because we have to cover them in a Robin's character corner because they're first two Robins. However, you know, the majority of them of their time is them not being Robins. You know, the majority of their time of us knowing them is just they're not Robins. You know, like I said, you know, Jason Todd dies as a Robin in '88. You know, he spent more time as Red Hood than anything else. Dick Grayson is Nightwing for most of my all my life except for maybe 2 years. You know,
right?
You know, so I just think, like you said, it's just an interesting dynamic to see. We basically get to see what happens to Robins when they grow up. So, all right, other medium.
Other media. I'm not going to talk about all the alternate versions of these characters because we don't have that kind of time. But let's go with Jason Todd because it's a lot shorter first. Jason Todd appears in alternate media not that often. He is quite literally the forgotten Robin. I remember in the Teen Titans animated series, when Red X is terrorizing the Titans, he appears on the whiteboard in name only as Beast Boy's theory as to who Red X could be. In the new Teen Titans on DC Nation, but after Teen Titans was canceled, Red X shows up again, and Beast Boy yells, "I still think you're Jason Todd." In Teen Titans Go, there's an episode called Sidekicks with a jar named Robin 2. It's seen on Batman Souvenir Shop alongside a crowbar.
Which was evil. Evil.
Super rude. Like, I didn't know that happened until I was doing this research. I don't watch Teen Titans Go. I'm the one.
Yo, Teen Titans Go, they do some rude shit in there.
That's some dirty shit. That's some dirty pool. He has a cameo in Young Justice. So in Young Justice, as you'll see, after season 1, there's a 5-year gap. When you come back, Tim Drake is Robin. And a lot of viewers were like, wow, way to erase Jason. But later on, they're shown a grotto where all the fallen heroes are honored. There's a holographic honoring of Jason Todd there. He'll be appearing in the forthcoming DC Universe series. Titans. He appears in live action twice. Or once, really. Dawn of Justice, his suit is on display. Everyone assumes it's Jason Todd, including the fact that, it just makes sense for it to be Jason Todd. It's labeled as such if you go on the Warner Brothers tour of Hollywood. It's called Jason Todd's suit. Zack Snyder, Mongol idiot, has determined to tell everyone that it's actually Dick Grayson's suit, asking more questions. And as we've already mentioned, Jason Todd is the titular character in Under the Red Hood, released in 2010, voiced by Jensen Ackles. And it's probably my favorite iteration of a Batman story told in one medium. Like, I'm a big fan of, I think it's they did the Dark Knight Returns animated films where they basically just filmed it panel for panel, but this was an adaptation truly because they took off the fantastical elements and let the core of the emotion really ring through.
Mm-hmm. And there's obviously Arkham Knight.
I wasn't going to spoil it, but yes, he's also an Arkham Knight.
I mean, come on, at this point,
I was kidding. Yes, he appears also in Lego Batman 3 as the Red Hood. He appears as an Arkham Knight in flashbacks as Robin, but also as the Arkham Knight and the Red Hood in the game. He also appears in Injustice 2 as a TLC character, and I believe he's currently appearing in the Injustice versus the Masters of the Universe miniseries because they have not revealed who Batman is in that book, but Bruce Wayne has been kidnapped. So because Damian is there as someone else, and because Dick Grayson's dead, it leans heavy credence to that actually being Jason Todd. He appears in the Injustice Season 2 or series, Injustice 2 series, written by Tom Taylor as Jason Todd and as the Red Hood there as well. Let's do Dick. That's a funny thing that's going to be taken as a snippet. Dick Grayson was officially depicted in live actions by Burt Ward, as we all know in the Batman 66 or 68 series. Holy Haberdashery Batman and Holy Atomic Pile. There was I keep forgetting this note. There was a TV show that was going to come out on the CW called The Graysons that never dropped.
I forgot about that shit.
It never went forward.
I'm so glad.
I'm super glad. Apparently, John Grayson appears in a fortune teller episode of Gotham. I cannot believe you watched the show. It tells him that he's going to get married with his fiancee Mary and have a son. Wow, that is.
But like.
No. I'm moving on. In 2018, as we already mentioned, Titans will be launching on the DC Unlimited app. After officially being announced to be going through TNT, it appears that Dick Grayson will be appearing as both Robin and probably effing Nightwing.
Fuck Batman.
Animated. Fuck Batman, indeed. Animated. Batman. Dick Grayson first appeared in the Batman Superman Hour in 68, The Adventures of Batman in the various 70s. He then appeared as Robin in Batman the Animated Series and the New Batman Adventures. He would go on to depict be Nightwing in the New Batman Adventures, showing the eventual maturation of Robin. Teen Titans is never referred to as Dick Grayson, but it's Dick Grayson. Especially the jokes about Jason Todd and the fact that when they go to an alternate universe, his DNA shows up as Dick Grayson spelled backwards. The Batman, which I watched part of, I guess I missed part of the series, but it was a pretty good series. Robin is an integral part of Batman's fight, and they have a couple flash forward episodes where he's depicted as Nightwing. He appears in The Brave and the Bold as Nightwing. His costume is shown in the background of a couple episodes, and I think there's a couple of older episode or flashback episodes where you get to see him as Robin as well. And then, of course, my favorite depiction of Robin in animated is Young Justice. Dick Grayson is the devil may care leader of the team at 13 years old, the youngest with most experience. He is forbidden by Batman to tell anyone on the team his identity. So it's so funny when they're out in their cities or like meeting, he's just wearing sunglasses, which I guess it works. Season 2 had him as Nightwing, and Season 3 looks like it's going to be another time skip, but it'll still be Nightwing when operating with the Outsiders in this new series. And live action movies. Batman Forever. Chris O'Donnell becomes Dick Grayson.
Dick Todd.
Dick Todd, exactly. He's Dick Todd. He then comes back again, reprising the role in Batman and Robin, the worst movie possibly ever made. Wearing a Nightwing suit. If you look at it, it's the Nightwing suit, but it's red where the blue should be, and he's wearing a cape. It's the Nightwing suit.
You know what? It's not until you mentioned that I was like, you're right. These sons of bitches. He's wearing the Nightwing.
I mean, it's the closest we're going to get, I think. I feel almost a little bad at that. Nightwing appears in the aforementioned Under the Red Hood. He appears in most Batman or JLA animated features. He appears in lots of video games. If you Batman's there, Robin's probably there. Notably, of course, as we already mentioned, the Arkham series, as Nightwing is a playable character, and in the Lego Batman series. He's a playable character in the first game of Injustice, but he also dies, killed by Damian Wayne, the comic book.
I'm wondering if, because there was another Arkham game that wasn't made by Rockstar. It was Arkham Origins.
He's not in that.
He's not in that, but it's like wasn't one of the games he was. You said what now?
In the multiplayer of Origins as Robin.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, one of them he is technically there as Robin, because all the other games he is Nightwing. So I knew there was one where Dick Grayson was actually in there as Robin, and that's what it was multiplayer. So okay, so
there you go, and that's it.
There you guys have it. That is
Jason Todd.
that's Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Robin's Part 1. We will be back for Robin's Part 2. This is what took us like 2 hours. Yeah. The second one won't take us as long because again we've kind of already done Tim and Damien.
Oh no, it's gonna be 2 hours of me yelling about Damien. That's
it. So we'll be back for then. A couple things real quick. One, I was meant to say this on last couple weeks on the Insanity Check. Somebody sent me an Amazon gift card, and I just picked it up not too long ago from my house. So whoever it was, thank you. I don't know who did that because it didn't tell me. So whoever did that, thank you very much for that. Also, we will be doing this. We got something else going. Oh, this weekend we had to postpone our Saga comic book club because of the hurricane and People's Power going out. But this week we have Jack Ryan, Iron Fist, season 2 spoilers, and Spider-Man 3, and maybe Saga as well. So I might have all 3 of those this week coming out on premium. So just stay tuned for some premium stuff coming out. But yeah, folks, stay tuned, and we will be back shortly. Make sure you subscribe, Character Corner. Until next time, we're out of here. Peace.